Welcome everyone to the I Talk Back Sports Show. My name is Kay and I'm joined by Jamal. Jamal, say hello to the people.
Hello to the people.
Today we're going to briefly discuss the NFL, a little bit of the NCAA and baseball, if you can believe that or not. And also you can reach us, listen to our old podcast on YouTube. You can reach us on Spotify and also Apple. Yay!
Yay, iTunes.
Jamal, do you have a shout out?
I don't really have a special shout out. I just wanted to shout out to Serena, just because Serena Williams, just the incredible woman that she is. Just because. What about you, Kay? Do you have a shout out?
I want to shout out to all our listeners. I don't have anything in particular either, Just thank you, everyone, for supporting us. And keep it up, please.
Absolutely.
So, there was an event that happened a couple of night games ago, with Westbrook and also a fan for the Jazz. I don't know how close we were to seeing Malice of the Palace 2, but there was definitely some words being exchanged, some very slow interaction security to kind of break up what was going on, on the side of the court. I believe just because you buy a ticket does not give you the right to just say whatever you want to someone who's at work. I'm not going to go walk at the construction worker and call him all kind of names. I'm not going to go to the McDonald's worker and insult them for doing their job. They're working. Jamal, where does this end? And what does the league, players, and also the fans need to do in order to keep this type of thing at bay?
I think a lot of this has to do with the interaction, and the NBA in particular is a interactive sort of league in terms of its fans with proximity to the players. And there just needs to be a better understanding. I think that probably additional security or security types should be around the courtside area, both plainclothes as well as those in uniform, to kind of keep these sort of interactions to a dull roar. I feel one of the great things about basketball is it does allow you to kind of say things to the players. But generally speaking, when things start to get on the abusive side, a little bit on the trash talking side, that needs to kind of be put to a dull roar, because that needs to be left on the court with the players. Fans don't need to sit and trash talk the players. It never leads to anything good. So my hope is that the league can figure out some way to work with the various teams to work out a better security sort of protocol. You still want you still want your players to interact with the fans. That's one of the great things about this sport. But let's keep the trash talk down to a dull roar if possible.
Yes, I definitely agree with everything you said, and I also want to give a shout out to actually Donovan Mitchell, who plays for the Jazz, and who said in the offseason he's going to get with his team, also the league and in the community, to see what all can be done, because he doesn't want any of the players to be coming to his arena and to be insulted in this way. And definitely he wants the fans to be safe as well. So I really do tip my hat to him for being proactive in this manner.
He needs to be proactive, because unfortunately, and I didn't mean to interject, but this is the second time that Westbrook has had a situation in terms of fans in Utah, and that I know for sure that other players have probably heard worse, and that this is one of those players who is thin-skinned. But even in being thin-skinned, it's still a matter of y'all shouldn't be saying some of the things that y'all say. Come on now.
I don't think he's thin-skinned. I just think that he wants to be respected. And so, it's a lot that comes with that. People don't want to respect you, I guess they get the lifetime ban. So, moving on. So free agency has begun in the NFL, and as well as conference championship week for the NCAA men's basketball. Are we excited about these two things, Jamal?
Yes, I'm very excited about the free agency market, even though it doesn't really apply to our particular team. It has been fun to kind of speculate on who could and would go where, and then turn around and look and see, oh, you were dead wrong on that one. So it's been one of those interesting sort of things. I found that this free agency thus far has really stood out for its number of safeties that have moved and been signed by people. After the complaints about last year, in which it seemed as though a number of the safeties were kind of shunned and shut out of the free agency market, this year has been safety heavy. I think it's the one position where it's probably had the most amount of movement in terms of people going to different places and so forth. The one, I guess, the big shocker was the trade that took place yesterday, and I'd like to get your thoughts on that, if I may. Odell Beckham Jr. leaving the NFC East. How do you feel about this?
Well, I just think it's kind of odd that the Giants signed him and then traded him for, a first, second, and Jabril Peppers. I mean, it's good for the Giants if they're looking for a quarterback in the first round, and maybe they can get who they want for a quarterback. But I can't see. I mean, I just couldn't see Beckham with another team, and I just really don't know why. I knew he wasn't happy with the Giants, but it's going to be different. I hope it's everything that he wants it to be. I can say that because they're not in the same conference.
Woo! Yes.
Cowboys. So,
yes.
Hey, ball out.
That's exactly what I thought when I saw the information when I came out of the movie. I dropped my phone because I thought it was jokes coming from some people, but it is definitely everything that you said, and it seems as though I guess the Giants are in some sort of a rebuilding phase, but they're bringing back Eli Manning. So I don't really understand how this works. You got rid of somebody who, okay, yes, they're a little emotional, but once you look beyond that, he is a major contributor and practically the face of the organization. And you got what you got for him, but I think that you could have had two transformational players on your team, and instead you're now just going to rely on Saquon Barkley. And yeah, but you know what? I realized we are talking about the Giants, so thank you, Giants. Also, thank you for not re-signing, is it Landon Collins?
Yes.
Now,
unfortunately, from that tape that I sent you, maybe it's not such a big deal. Maybe the Redskins did overpay. Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. And I'm not looking forward, however, to seeing Deshaun Jackson twice a year again. I know that he did not play that well against us when he was with Tampa, but twice a year back in Eagles gear, not really thrilled about that sort of situation. But I am the Odell Beckham, also Le'Veon Bell. And Le'Veon Bell went to the Jets, but it caused quite a bit of discussion on social media about he ended up taking a bit less than he would have if he had signed with the Steelers. And he lost, $14.5 million last year by sitting out. How do you...
That's a really interesting conversation. A situation. Is it that the player felt he was going to get more outside of the team, outside of
Pittsburgh?
The Steelers? Was he thinking he was going to get more money? Did the money really matter? But then again, you're with the Jets. I mean, who wants to be in that position? They're kind of taking over Oakland as the graveyard in the Browns. I mean, they're no longer the bottom, so now it's the Jets and the Bills. So was that really your intention to go there? So who knows what was was going through his mind. We know for sure he was not trying to go back to the Steelers. We
No.
know that for sure. No matter what the money situation is, and obviously the team situation. So that's very interesting. And the story, I feel, will come out soon about everything that's happening with Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I really think that a lot of it has to do. There's only one person who seems to be left standing in Pittsburgh, and that has been Roethlisberger, and that they realize that they have a really good quarterback in him, and he has been able to take various receivers and work with them to a certain amount of success. And now Juju steps up to be the number one guy, and that. Antonio Brown, not so long ago, was an unheard of receiver, and he's gone on to Oakland for, what did you say that Odell Beckham got? Was for a first round and a second round?
I believe, and also Jabril Peppers. But
Antonio,
another team that's also making some splashes in free agency is the Ravens.
Yes.
The Ravens have gotten rid of their quarterback, Flacco. They've gotten Thomas, and they've also signed Mark Ingram
yes,
as a running back.
Yes, they signed Mark Ingram.
That's pretty interesting, isn't it?
Absolutely. The Ravens are not sitting pat. They've been very quiet up to this point, very coy, and then not even in anyone's discussions or on anyone's radar, they up and signed Earl Thomas. And that was kind of one of those, And the terms of the contract really aren't that bad. They take a hit the first year with $22 million, but the remaining 3 years of a 4-year contract that's supposed to pay out $55 million is at $11 million per year. And it's actually somewhat of a team-friendly contract. Also, there is, I believe, $30 million of it is guaranteed. So there is always the possibility that down the road, cost-cutting measures or whatnot, but this man is going to get paid first and paid considerably up front. So, and Mark Ingram now has an opportunity to, again, be the workhorse that he was before Kamara came to New Orleans. It's unfortunate that he leaves that situation. That was a very good situation that he was in, but hey, Baltimore, they may be coming up. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And then before we came on the air, Blake Bortles was finally released by the Jaguars. So, who picks him up?
Ooh. Whoever picks him up, I don't think he will be a starter. I don't think he'll start. Maybe not right out. Maybe if someone gets hurt. I don't really know. What do you think?
I'm not sure where he'll go, but I agree with you that he definitely will not be a starter wherever it is that he ends up. I can't see any team that is that desperate to have him starting on purpose. On purpose. And that, however he lasted as long as he did in Jacksonville is still an amazement to me. Nick Foles will be a vast improvement. I hope that the magic continues because they're in a different conference than we are. Once again, I have no qualms with rooting for people in a different conference from us. So you go, Nick Foles, show them that magic that you got. So with the moves that they have made, are the Cleveland Browns going to the playoffs this year?
Yes.
Wow.
As a wild card.
Wow. Okay.
I don't think they'll have a better record than the Ravens in their conference. So I'll say as a wild card.
Okay, so you have the Ravens first. What about the Steelers?
I have them third.
Okay. All right.
I have them third.
My concern about Cleveland, and I mentioned this to some friends of mine earlier today, is down the stretch, they looked great on offense. Their defense couldn't stop anyone. And that should be their focus. I noticed that they went through and they picked up not only Odell Beckham, but they grabbed a tight end from Kansas City. They're loading up with offensive firepower, but that defense, that's going to need some help. And just if you're going to go anywhere beyond third place into second place, I think that they got to shore up that defense very quickly before the season starts. I'm not there with you on them making the playoffs, though. I think that they're going to be, again, 1 or 2 steps away from getting there, but I think that they're on the right path.
Okay. Well, who would have thought that we would sit here and talk about
Cleveland.
AFC teams more so than the NFC? Who would have thought that?
Hey, we like to diversify on this show.
Not really.
Okay.
We don't like that.
Okay. We really don't. Said so long as the man didn't go, as long as Earl Thomas didn't go to Houston, you were fine.
Yeah, I'm pretty good with that because they talk too much crap and not done anything. I mean, we have not done anything, but they have not done anything.
They've really not done anything. Yeah, I got nothing for Texans. Sorry, Texans fans. I got nothing for you. So let's move along. We'll discuss the women's NCAA basketball next week. We want to take a quick poke in at the men's. The conference championship week is upon us. Are you planning on watching any of the tournaments before this weekend's out?
I might check out a Big 12 showdown duel or something, but probably not.
The Big Ten, I believe, is in town in Brooklyn this weekend. I'm thinking about seeing if I can get tickets, but otherwise, I may probably just watch. I'm probably going to focus on the ACC. That's really, honestly, the conference that has my attention. Although I will say, the SEC looks like it could be interesting this year with more than just Kentucky. That Tennessee, I want to see how they do, and LSU. Let's see what you do after your coach has been suspended. Cheating ass. So yeah, we'll get back next week with some brackets. We are doing brackets, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, that's what I like to hear. And also, while we're at it, speaking of the NCAAs, any thoughts on this cheating scandal, which involved actually some athletic programs as well?
Well, I was just thinking, a lot of things go on that, of course, we're not privy to, and we don't have the financial aptitude at this time to even be involved in. But non-sports, my comment is, your mom, your dad always tell you, work harder. But they say just work harder because everybody does, not be, that everyone else is trying to find an advantage, to get themselves or their kids in a better position, But I digress. So it's interesting. I mean, this is really good, like juicy type stuff. Like my little TV actresses. Oh my God. Oh really?
Yeah.
Yes, I like it. Hey, I'm not surprised. Are you?
I'm not surprised. What I will say is I'm surprised at the way this is being adjudicated. Like, they arrested Felicity Huffman and
At gunpoint. Yeah.
Yeah, and what was the other woman's name?
Full House. I don't know.
Yeah, okay, Auntie Becky. There. So yeah, that we went down the entire. We're going to arrest you on this, and that we're going to probably put you in front of a grand jury or something to that effect, and like you need $1 million to post bond on this. It's like, whoa, y'all really, really, really now are going to try to be serious about this. And by the way, Felicity, $15,000 for what she paid to try to get her child into USC. $15,000. Y'all could have just slapped her on the wrist for that. It didn't require gunpoint arrest. That was a bit much.
So let me ask you, do you see a shift in high profile people being brought to justice, as where, we would hear maybe rumors of, high profile people doing things but never getting caught, never being charged with anything or indicted. So do you see a shift?
I will see a shift when the man in the White House is being walked out with handcuffs, his daughter and her son-in-law, or his son-in-law right behind him.
Okay,
Until
for
then,
everyone else, though, like the
until
other
then, no.
15 billion people in the world.
No. I think that there have been a couple of high-profile arrests. The FBI did the real perp walk with Roger Stone a couple of weeks ago from his place at dawn, and I think it's just I don't know. I don't know if it's the FBI trying to reassert themselves as the asses that they originally were in the first place, or what, but. I still, no, I don't see a shift. I think that there's still plenty of white-collar crimes still out there being committed and not being charged. And even when they are charged, in the case of Manafort, they're charged at a ridiculously low amount. Again, she gave up $15,000, and yet you're going to arrest her at gunpoint? It's over the top.
Right.
Yeah.
So
So
you mentioned ass. I want to put this somewhere else. So Will Kane compared Antonio Brown to a terrorist suicide bomber on First Take.
done.
Do you think
Out.
that?
Out.
Sorry.
Out. He's got to go. You can't say that. Sorry. Continue with your question. My apologies.
Up through. Yeah. So we can just move on.
No. Let's discuss this. No. Let's briefly discuss this because I will get to this later in another form. But let's go ahead and discuss this, please. What's your question?
Well, I think you pretty much answered it. So okay.
Okay, so
That's why I said okay.
So there's a certain threshold, a certain line that you don't cross, I feel, when talking about someone. And in the media, you have got a certain responsibility. This whole Fox News trying to label people with something for more than what they're actually doing, I'm sorry that you don't care for Antonio Brown, excuse me. But there's nothing that he did that really has anything to do or need for you to sit there and call the man out like that as something that obviously he's not. He's got nothing to do with being a terrorist. He's somebody who sat down and fought for his right to make more money. That's it. So I think that you cannot bring in, however, into sports this Fox News sort of over-the-top lying on someone, because that is what you're doing. You're obviously lying on it because you have no proof that Antonio Brown is any sort of a terrorist. This is absolutely ridiculous. And there's no place for it in real news or in real sports. So you got to go. I'm sorry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whew, got me worked up. Apologize. Okay. So let's move along. Hey, Barbie.
Yes.
Did you know that opening day approaches?
Yay.
Are there any stories not related to your team that have slightly caught your attention?
No, I think this is probably the least hyped season for baseball in quite some time. I mean, it's really not even really reported. No one's really talking about it, and I think that's unfortunate.
I think that once Machado and Bryce Harper were signed, that a lot of the mystery was probably taken out, and football has really overshadowed in their offseason baseball's spring training and leading up to the regular season. I'm amazed.
Right.
Truly amazed.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, Bryce Harper, I think, is really the only thing that caught my attention and that has held my attention was where he was going to sign. To see that he was going from one team in my division to another is just one of those shrug of the shoulders. I'm very surprised he didn't go to the Yankees, and that he's in Philadelphia, who I truly dislike as a team. Oh well, so much for my ever rooting for him. So I'm sure Bryce won't lose any sleep over it. So
Right.
let's steer away for a quick bit. So what have you watched since our last show on Sunday?
Absolutely nothing. I
That's
hadn't caught anything.
I. So I actually got to see Captain Marvel in the theater, and that kind of like what I told you. I thought it was extremely entertaining, and I recommend it. It's a very interesting film, and like I said, I was entertained. It was better than I expected it to be. So I'm not going to sit here and hype it and say it's the best film that I've seen, because it's no Black Panther, but it is still a very enjoyable Marvel film, and that, hey, it'll tide you over for the Avengers, which will come out May 3rd, apparently.
Okay, cool.
So coming up this weekend, wall-to-wall NCAA men's conference tournament. Apparently one of us may watch it and the other one of us may be napping through it. We're still not sure who's who at this particular moment. And St. Patty's Day is on Sunday. Really? No Jameson? Really?
Yeah, don't really celebrate that holiday. But hey, everyone who does, drink as much as you can and drive safely.
I can't.
Or call an Uber.
Got to go to work on Monday. It was a bad placement. Horrible placement.
Oh.
You don't seem distraught over this at all.
Yeah, won't be celebrating that.
So hopefully I can. One of us will wake up in time to watch the Selection Sunday, the committee's choices for who's going to be on the brackets for the NCAA tournament. We'll flip a coin to see who does, and also. We've already discussed we're doing brackets this year, and we'll work it out. We will try to go down our brackets next week on air and give who our picks were. Of course, by that point, there will have been 2 play-in games, so not that they actually truly matter in our brackets, but yeah. So that being said, I wanted to take a moment to discuss the media double standard on players and the way that it really seems to work is the media really seems to act as though they're agents for the owners of teams, as though they are the caretakers for the administration of teams by going after players who seek more money. When the teams have sought for larger stadiums, which in turn calls for taxes on people, sports writers are there to support this move and to suggest, yes, new facilities will do this, that, and the other. When owners are looking to put on salary caps to try to stem the amount of rising salaries, sports writers are there to sit and agree with this and say that, yes, salary contracts have gone out of the roof and they're ridiculous, and owners are paying players way too much. But when a player tries to push forward the boundaries, tries to push for more money for other players, sports writers are there to come up with any and every excuse to badmouth this person. The means in which things have been done are unfortunate, and in the case of Antonio Brown, did he game the system? Yep, he probably did, by sitting out the last game and by any of his other sort of discussions behind the scenes. In what was already a toxic environment, he was shipped out, he made more money, and I'm still trying to understand what everyone's problem is with what he did and how he did what he did. Le'Veon Bell tried to do something similar. It cost him $14.5 million, and then however much the Steelers were going to give him. But let the media tell it, it was the worst decision Le'Veon Bell could have made. Did anyone ever stop to think, hey, you know what, maybe Le'Veon Bell wanted out of Pittsburgh as well, for whatever the toxic reasons are that maybe Antonio wanted out, or maybe it just thought that it would be a better option for him? I need the media to be the media. And I need you not to be the caretakers and the mouthpiece for the owners, for the NFL administration. The game does not need you for that. In any sport, for that matter, but in particular, definitely in football. report on both sides. Keep it down the middle. Players, owners, don't sit here and side with the owners all the time and spend your time trying to downplay what people should be earning, because nobody comes to your job and tells you what you should and shouldn't be earning. And, oh, hey, that column that Bob wrote, really only about 3 people read it, so I really think we should probably talk to you about cutting down your salary, Bob. Don't you think that would be a good idea? It would be great for the team. That doesn't happen, Bob. It just doesn't happen. So, come on, let's get it together. That was my...
I hear you, and nothing chaps my hide more than listening to talk radio and listening to some has-beens or some almost shoulda, coulda, woulda been people sitting there saying what a player should or should not do. No, he's always to do what's in best interest of him, his family. You know what I'm saying? And his organization. The organization comes last because he is the talent.
Right.
So I'm in total agreement with you on that. You know, it's okay to say, well, I would have liked or it would have been interested, but to say, no, he should or she should, no, that is not place.
Right.
And also, as far as the agents, you know, you don't see them out there pitching a fit. No, they're trying to get the best thing done for their client.
Right.
Just like when some of these criminals go to jail, your lawyer's trying to get the best deal or get you the best time for whatever you did that was wrong. So we all got to work around in our situation because it's called life and it's called living.
Yes.
So I am in agreement with you on that.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Plus, you don't want nobody coming to your job telling you that you should make less money because, you know.
Absolutely not. I don't want them to do with my money, period. What do you have to do with my money? Nothing.
Right.
You're not giving it. You're not cultivating it. You didn't do anything talent-wise to say that I should have whatever type of money that I'm getting. And I don't get into the money. The only reason why me as a fan would want to know how much a player is getting to know how much a player on my team might want.
Right.
That's the only thing. Because I'm not saying he shouldn't or should not get this money based on his talent or his numbers or whatever. It's about need. If there's a need, they're going to pay him.
Right.
So I don't get caught up in the numbers of money. But each player needs to do whatever they need to do for themselves and for their family. So if it's finding a little blip in the system and trying to work it to your advantage, people do it all day. You probably just did when you were negotiating your contract for TV.
Right.
So who's to say anything about that?
Right.
Nobody.
Exactly.
Not our business.
Thank you. Couldn't agree more. All right. And Kay, on that note, I think we should go ahead and say good evening. Thank you very much for joining me, Kay. It's good to see you again. Is it warm there?
Oh, it's just 70 degrees.
You know what? I'm done with you. Okay, thanks. Good night, Kay.
Good night from Dallas. Warm Dallas.